Hey, welcome to Learning with Lou, and today we're going to talk about subtracting mixed numbers. Subtracting mixed numbers is a lot like just subtracting fractions. The first thing I recommend you do is just check and look at your fractions first. Are you able to take away 4/12 from 9/12? If the answer is yes, go ahead and subtract your whole numbers. So 5 minus 3, those are the two whole numbers. 5 minus 3 gives you 2. Then you go ahead and subtract your fractions. 9/12 minus 4/12 gives you 5/12. And then you just put your whole number and your fraction together to get your final answer. 5 and 9/12 minus 3 and 4/12 equals 2 and 5/12. Now, subtracting mixed numbers might seem nice and straightforward, but sometimes you're going to have to regroup. If you take a look here at 3 and 3/10 minus 1 and 8/10, after you subtract your whole numbers, you're going to notice a problem. You can't take away 8/10 from 3/10. That would be like saying if you have 3 out of 10 slices of pizza left, and then you had 8 more slices, you'd be like, well, where did the rest of those slices come from? I thought we only had 3. How did you possibly just eat 8 more? The way it is right now, we can't do this subtraction yet. We're actually going to have to decompose our 3 and 3/10 and just kind of rewrite it. That way we have enough of a fraction to take away from. So as you can see, what we have here is 3 and 3/10. That's our original number. We have 3 1/2 matching with the 3, and then our 3 1/10 for the 3/10. What you're going to do is you're going to borrow 1 from your whole number. So this 3 that we have here, we're taking one of these wholes away, and we're actually going to turn it into 10 more tenths. So when you get one whole, you could actually turn it into 10 tenths. Remember, anytime you have the same numerator and denominator, it's equal to one whole. So 3 has just been rewritten as 2 plus 10 tenths. We didn't change the number. It's not any different value. It's still 2 plus 1 whole, which is still 3. So we have 2 and 10 tenths plus the 3/10 that we still originally had down here. This 1 whole just became 10 tenths, but we still had 3/10 from our original mixed number. So now you can say, well, I have 2 and 13 tenths. That's still the same as 3 and 3/10. We just made it so we have more fractions to take from. Now that we've rewritten our 3 and 3/10, we have 2 and 13/10 minus 1 and 8/10. So you go ahead and subtract your whole numbers. 2 minus 1 gives you 1. And then you have 13/10 minus 8/10, which gives you 5/10. So 3 and 3/10 minus 1 and 8/10 is really 1 and 5/10. We just renamed our first mixed number. We have 6 practice problems here. I'm going to go ahead and just show you 2 of them as examples, and then I'm going to ask you to try the other 4 on your own. So the first one, you have 6 and 3/4 minus 2 1/2. And I'm sure you've noticed by now we have 2 different denominators. If you remember from the subtracting fractions video, we have to match these denominators first by finding the lowest common denominator. I'm going to ignore the whole number for a second. I know that the lowest common denominator for 2 and 4 is the number 4, so I'm actually going to leave 6 and 3/4 alone. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, 6 and 3/4. Now I have to rename this fraction here, so I have to get a denominator of 4, which means I have to do 2 times 2, and whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator, so I'm really going to have minus 2 and 2/4. So now I can go ahead and actually subtract these. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract my whole numbers. 6 minus 2 gives me 4, and then I'm going to go ahead and subtract my fractions. 3/4 minus 2/4 is going to give me 1/4. So that's how you solve these. Just remember to find your lowest common denominator. Over here we have 8 and 9/12 minus 5 and 10/12. Now we're going to have to rename our 8 and 9/12 here because you can't do 9/12 minus 10/12. Can't do a smaller number minus a larger number because then we're getting into negatives. So what I'm going to do here is rename my 8 and 9/12. I'm going to break apart my 8 into 7 because I'm borrowing 1 whole, 7 and 12/12. So that 1 whole that I borrowed is going to become 12/12 plus the 9/12 that I already have here. So it's 7 and 12/12 plus 9/12. So I broke apart my 8 into 7 and 12/12 plus the 9/12 that I already had. And I had to write it up here because I was running out of space. But 7 and 12/12 plus 9/12 gives me 7 and 21/12. Minus my 5 and 10/12, I could start with my whole numbers. 7 minus 5 is going to give me 2 wholes. And then 21/12 minus 10/12 is going to give me 11/12. So that becomes my answer. I have 2 and 11/12 as my final answer. How about you pause here and try to solve the other 4 problems on your own, and then you can see how you did. Okay, so hopefully you gave those a try on your own, and you could see how we did here. So the first 2, you have 5 and 7/10 minus 1 and 3/10, and 6 and 3/4 minus 3 and 1/4. We actually didn't have to change any denominators or rename anything. It was just whole number minus whole number, and then fraction minus fraction. So 5 minus 1 is 4, 7/10 minus 3/10 is 4/10, so 4 and 4/10 is your first answer. And then over here we have 6 minus 3 is 3, and 3/4 minus 1/4 is 2/4, so 3 and 2/4 is your second answer. Now down here is where it gets a little bit trickier, because you can't do 2/8 minus 5/8. So I had to rewrite my 3 and 2/8. I took 1 whole away from the 3, leaving me with 2 wholes, and that 1 whole that I took away, I just wrote it as 8/8. So between 2 and 8/8, I still have a total of 3. 2 and 8/8 plus the 2/8 that I already have gives me 2 and 10/8. Then you're good to subtract. 2 minus 1 gives you 1, 10/8 minus 5/8 gives you 5/8, so 1 and 5/8 is your answer. And then over here for 4.5 minus 1 and 2/8, we had to rename a fraction because we had 2 different denominators. I had to multiply by 4 because my lowest common denominator between 2 and 8 is 8. I did 2 times 4 to get 8. Whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. 1 times 4 gives me 4. So 4 and 4/8 minus 1 and 2/8 gives me 3 and 2/8 as my answer. So that's how you subtract mixed numbers. I want to leave this page up just in case you want to pause here and maybe write down this so you could have notes to reference to help you out in the future. Subtracting mixed numbers can be a little bit tricky, but if you just remember that sometimes you have to regroup and sometimes you have to rename, it's really not so bad once you follow the steps. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this video helped you. And remember, all of these resources that you see, including this handout right here that could go right in a student math folder or even hung up on a classroom wall, you could download these from my shop, and the link is right in the description. It comes with all these practice problems, it comes with all the visuals, the notes, the explanations. Everything you see here plus more you can have from my website. Thank you again, and never stop learning.